I called this spiritual awakening open discussion because the last one we did, we went into so many topics. It was really an around the world discussion of almost everything and anything. And that's where the magic happens because I feel like there's so much content on social media, even so much AI content and automation, that when you do something live with other people in an interactive way and it's free flowing and spontaneous, magic happens and it resonates so much more with everyone. Like I get so lit up doing these. And Adam Yannotta is coming on soon. He told me he was running a few minutes late. So I'm just gonna talk here about some really important things right now for me. So the first thing, I gotta talk about this. My Soul Writer Mastermind, I'm actually doing a Black Friday sale. I've never done a Black Friday sale before, but I decided to do it with this because I really want to kick off this group with some awesome momentum, and I'm feeling that building. So the Soul Writer Mastermind, it's a community where we all help each other. I'm the steward of it. I'm not like the guru or the master. I'm the steward of this community. And yeah, I have a lot of experience and all that with writing books. But I really view myself as a steward and even like kind of a guide. So our main focus is building consistent writing habits from the soul. And then things like honing your unique voice, following through with writing projects, stepping more into your life purpose, and using writing as a tool for healing, transformation, opening up new opportunities in your life, that kind of stuff. But the main focus is a consistent writing habit or practice from the soul, because that is, I keep saying this phrase, that's where the magic happens, because it really is. You learn to tap into creative inspiration regularly, focus, get into flow state, and when you do, everything compounds. This is how you write a book and follow through with writing a book. It's how you stick to a newsletter, content creation, even journaling as a practice. Journaling is probably the most powerful practice, in my opinion. And consistent writing is, excuse me, is the foundation of it. And oh yeah, this is why consistent writing came up. I did a few surveys, and this also is in alignment with everyone I've talked to, one-on-one, in groups, through email, things like that. When it comes to writing and even creating in general and achieving anything in general, people's number one problem is staying consistent and being consistent also with that creative inspiration, tapping into that on a regular basis, staying inspired. Not just that forced consistency going through the motions, but being so deeply inspired and fired up every day, that kind of consistency. So that's what we're getting into in the Soul Writer Mastermind. And there's accountability threads, discussion threads, review your writing threads. We're doing bi-weekly live calls. I have a bunch of content in there already. I have my whole Divine Right course. That's a course that is a comprehensive guide to writing a book. It's got, I forgot even how many lessons, 40 something lessons, I think, maybe more. But it's a comprehensive course to help you write a book from the soul. So I have that in there. I have some master classes. One is a fiction writing masterclass. I already have that in there. I have resources for writing from the soul, all kinds of stuff. This is going to be the hub, the community that's at the nexus of spiritual growth and writing, because writing is a powerful practice, as everyone knows. It's the basis of all content creation. You need to write every day. Pretty much everyone. You write emails, you write texts. If you want to create videos, you got to write it. If you want to create any kind of project, business project, whatever, you outline it first. You have to communicate with people. So it makes everything else better, even just beyond writing books, writing poetry, journaling. It really makes everything better, and it it ties into everything else. So that's a little overview of the Soul Writer Mastermind, and it's on sale for 50% off until Black Friday. So this is an unofficial announcement. I just changed the price and, did all that. And this price, it's $599 for the year. So it's usually $99 monthly. So that makes it half off. So $99 per month is $1,200 for the year. So this Black Friday offer is you pay $600 for the entire year. So that's what it is. I decided to do this because it's so important, and this is the work I'm here to do. I'm here to write from the soul and to express important messages through writing. I do it through fiction, nonfiction, poetry. However it needs to be expressed, I do that. And then I also have a gift for helping other people write and also get the inspiration to write. And I've noticed this over the past few years because people ask me like, hey, you wrote books. Help me write a book. But even the last few months, I'm noticing the gift of this. Even when people are around me and interacting with me, they get more inspired to write and to write in different ways. So I'm noticing that too. And there's something to that. So I know I can help and be of service that way. And also, we just need more conscious communities. We need people interacting and helping each other, exchanging ideas, because that's where you get this. I talked about this in the last spaces we did a few days ago, the compounding effect. I call it the compounding perspective effect. When you get people engaging, it creates a feedback loop. We build off of each other. We create synergy. So it builds momentum in a positive way. And this is what leads to people expressing like amazing wisdom that benefits humanity. People figuring out new ways to publish books, new ways to write, new forms of poetry, new forms of writing that activate people's consciousness in ways that we can't even imagine right now. That's where I see this going. That's my vision. It's to create that space for pioneers, innovators, people who are leaders of this new age of humanity, for them to get together and co-create and inspire each other. That's the real vision for this. So that's the Soul Writer Mastermind. I linked to it in the post here. You can also find it through the link in my bio. And that's the pitch for the Soul Writer Mastermind. Adam's still not here, so I'll get into the next topic. This kind of ties in. It's related. There is a funny concept. It's not funny. It's actually really deep, but it's funny how it came. So last week, something like that. Let's just say last week, I was walking in the park and an idea just came to me. The phrase that popped into my mind was something like, do the work you came here to do. And along with that phrase came a visual. It was like concentric circles that came with that phrase, do the work that you came here to do. And I unpacked this throughout the rest of my walk. It was like a download. I'm gonna drink some tea. It was like a download that just struck my consciousness like a lightning bolt. So I unpacked it over the course of the walk, and I'm calling it the spheres of purpose. So the spheres of purpose model is a model to help you do the work you came here to do. So at the center of the concentric circles is let's just say, the most important work for everyone, which is spiritual growth. So spiritual growth practices are at that very epicenter, the middle concentric circle. And these are things you already know, hopefully. Things like meditation, things like journaling. And really, it doesn't have to be limited to that kind of stuff to fuel your spiritual growth. It could be some kind of art. It could be dancing, singing, walking outside, being in nature, anything like that. Anything that catalyzes spiritual growth. So that's the innermost concentric circle, the most important to do the work that you came here to do. So the next circle is your soul mission projects and tasks. So these are the projects and tasks that are directly contributing to your soul mission. So let's say that your soul mission, I'll just use myself as an example, is to use writing to elevate the consciousness of humanity. Okay? So one project might be my book Soswick, and I'm working on the second Soswick book 2 right now. So that would be a project that directly contributes to my soul mission. Same thing with the Soul Writer Mastermind. That's a project that directly contributes to my soul mission. And then you have tasks related to these, because projects are the big thing. Tasks are the individual actions. So something like editing Soswick Book 2 today, that's a task. So something like uploading a video to the Soul Writer Mastermind, that's a task, okay? Directly contributing to my soul mission. So think about what this is for you. And here's the cool thing. The more you prioritize your spiritual growth and spiritual growth practices, your soul mission becomes clearer. Okay? Because if you distract yourself and don't do these spiritual practices and focus on your spiritual growth, you get lost. You start running around in circles, basically distracting yourself. So the more you lean into your spiritual growth, the clearer your soul mission gets. So think about what your soul mission consists of. What are you here to do? What's the work that you came here to do? And then what are the projects associated with that directly contribute to your soul's mission? And then the tasks. And then the third concentric circle is what I call the mission adjacent projects and tasks. So these are the things that indirectly contribute to your soul mission. Okay, so this is something like, using myself as an example again, posting on social media. It's not a direct contribution to like writing books that elevate the consciousness of humanity, but it does indirectly contribute to it because it gets more people interested in it. It reaches more people. It allows me to build an audience, all that kind of stuff, generate opportunities, create connections for this. So that's an example of something that is mission adjacent, or an indirect contribution to the soul mission and the tasks. So it's similar. Let's use another example. Let's say your soul mission is to be a great parent. That's some people's soul mission, and that's a very, very high worthy mission. So the direct tasks, let's say, one example of that could be just being present with your child or children, just being present, being there with them, listening to them, maybe playing with them. Those are direct soul mission tasks. You could view it that way. And then mission adjacent projects tasks, let's say for the parent example, would be creating a schedule for your family. See how it's indirect, because it does, or it can, make everyone's life better, but it's not like the direct thing. It's something that's adjacent to it that indirectly feeds it. Making a schedule, or cleaning the house, or something like that. These are indirect tasks that contribute to the soul mission. Okay. And then on the outside of those concentric circles, this is important. It's the non-purposeful work. So this is the outside of it. This is basically what takes you away from this work. So these are distractions. Of course, everyone knows what distractions are. It could be anything. It could be social media. It could be chasing people of the opposite sex, or chasing people who you're attracted to. It could be being greedy. It could be addictions. It could be anything like that. Distractions, things that distract you from your purpose, from your spiritual growth and your soul mission. And then the other thing that's a part of this non-purposeful work is busy work. So these are things that you might convince yourself that you need to do or that's important, but they're really not. And if you read any business books or productivity stuff, you know about busy work. So any tasks that you think are important, but they're really not important at all, this is busy work. You know, are you organizing a room that's already clean? Are you wasting time replying to emails that you don't need to reply to? Are you keeping yourself busy by doing certain tasks just because they're comfortable? Be aware of the busy work, because that could be a big thing for a lot of people, especially if you're like a driven type of person, you're ambitious. You could get caught up in busy work instead of your actual soul mission projects and tasks. So beware of busy work. And then the third part of non-purposeful work is the shoulds. So these are the things you think you should do. A lot of these are societal programs or based upon what other people think you should do or other people's opinions, things like that. So this could be like climbing the corporate ladder, even though it doesn't fulfill your soul. Staying at a job you hate. It could be going out partying over the weekend because that's what your friends do and that's what you should do to have fun. All of these things, signing up for different whatever because other people are doing it, or you should do this to maintain a certain image. Anything that's a should, be careful of, because it could be something that takes you away from your purpose, from your spiritual growth, from your soul mission, all of that. So that's the spheres of purpose model. I'm glad that I got to explain all that here. This is actually kind of cool, doing a solo cast while I'm waiting. So the spheres of purpose, I'll go over it one more time. So it's a concentric circles. The middle circle, the most important thing, is spiritual growth practices. Okay? The second circle is your soul mission projects and tasks. The third circle is your mission adjacent projects and tasks. And then the outside of these circles, the things that take you away from your purpose, from your spiritual growth, this is the non-purposeful work. This is the distractions, the busy work, and the shoulds. Okay? Okay. One more thing. I've got so much inspiration the last 2 weeks, it's ridiculous. So the next thing, and if Adam doesn't come on by the time I'm done talking about this next thing, then I'll go ahead and wrap this up. Okay? So the next thing that's important that I want to talk about and elaborate on, and by the way, this is a good format to elaborate on things. I like it a lot. So this next thing is the consistency principles for writing from the soul. So this is a little hint, it's a little sneak peek at part of what we'll get into in the Soul Writer Mastermind. The consistency principles to always be creatively inspired and to write every day. And you'll find that these apply to any kind of creation practice, or really it can apply to anything. You could see how this can apply to something like working out or something like meditation as well. So the consistency principles, there's 7 of them. The first one is purpose. So this is getting really clear on your purpose, finding your purpose, knowing your why, knowing why you're here. So this is all about what we just talked about with these spheres of purpose, getting clear on that stuff. Because when you have a sense of purpose, it fuels you on a deep level every day. And if you don't have a sense of purpose, it's really hard to stay motivated on a daily basis. So this is huge, and people overlook this. Because if you're getting into something just because you think it's cool, or you'll make money, or it'll elevate your image, or it's a way of patting your ego on the back, things like that, it's going to be really hard to stay motivated because you're just chasing surface level desires. So once you encounter obstacles, you're going to quit. Okay. And then the next consistency principle is idea-inducing practices. So these are things like meditation, walking, journaling, anything that helps you generate ideas. And Adam's in here. Cool. Adam, I'm going through what I call consistency principles. So I'll quickly run through these and then we'll get into some discussion because I was just reading some of your book too. The third consistency principle is writing everything down. This is what I do. I write down all ideas that I get. And this creates a database of things that I can refer back to and that serves as a foundation for content creation, book writing, all of that. So when you write everything down, it helps you become more consistent. The fourth one is committing to a daily habit. So this is at a specific time every day. Are you going to write every day in the morning, at night? It doesn't matter. Just commit to it as a daily habit. The fifth one is focusing 100%. So this is no distractions. Put everything else aside and focus 100%, even if you need to set a timer to do so. The sixth one is noticing feedback. And feedback could come in many forms. It could be how you feel after you write. It can be how you feel before you write, during when you're writing. It could be feedback you get from others, feedback you get online if you post it, if you share it publicly. It could be accountability, anything like that. That's feedback. And then the last one is iteration. So you iterate based on the feedback you get. And again, feedback can take on many forms. Iterate, experiment, and refine over time. So those are some of the consistency principles. All right, Adam, let's get to it. How do can you request to speak? See if we can do this. There we go. There we go.
What did I miss? That sounded great, man. I can listen to you all day.
I was just doing a solo cast going into some things I've been expanding upon the last week or two.
Listen, these kind of spaces can be used for that. Almost like a diary type of thing. You jump on a space, turn the mic on, and then you listen to somebody, and that like the information that someone will get for you will beat 99.999% of any influencer on any of these platforms. And it's so funny because you could see that, most people are drawn towards everything but like being creative. Am I right or wrong?
Yeah. Yeah, because it's that comfort. It's that pull of mediocrity and distractions. Because it's easy.
It's easy. It's like like part of you is like you got to create. It's probably why they killed Jesus. They were like, "Damn, this guy is showing us what we're not. We can't have that. We got to get rid of this guy." And that's the world we live in. It's kind of I find it hysterical, but it makes it easier for somebody like me and somebody like you, I bet, because you could actually, if you're not distracted by things, you could find what's important. And when you find what's important, it kind of leads you to a better life. That's just how this game works. And when 1 million people are going one way, I'm going the other way.
Yeah.
That's just how I am. And I find the best accounts on here, they're not influencers. They're just bring such great knowledge. And if somebody was to listen to you and to go through your steps, and then to just, all right, let me just start applying it. Let me get my book out. Let me start writing. You start writing shit down, and you might have seen that in my book. I started writing stuff down, and all of a sudden you have some great ideas. And then I would go back to whatever I wrote down like 6 months later, and I said, holy shit, I accomplished everything I wrote down. So what the hell is writing shit down? Is it like a hack in this life? Is it like a spell? Like, what is it? Go back into a to-do list and look at it. You'll see that you probably accomplished most of it. And that's why it's like you get your ideas down on paper and it like takes on a different energy. So, yeah, man. So what else
Yeah.
goes on?
And the things I write down are the ones that I actually do. And the things I don't write down, there's like a subconscious thing where it's like, no, I'm not ready to actually see that. And then I'll avoid it and not do it. I've noticed
You know,
that.
I do the same thing. There's things I don't cross off my list because they just became irrelevant. It's like, it's just not relevant. I just didn't need to do it. I found another way to do it. So I didn't cross that off my list. I actually have my list somewhere because it's amazing. And especially the long term lists. I looked at like one of my to do lists from like 2008. And then I read it in like 2022, I think it was. And I said, holy shit. Everything I said in here, I exactly did. And I was like, damn, I should have went bigger with my thinking instead of this. Because I accomplished everything I said I did, but I wonder if you write crazy shit, will that come true, you know?
Hmm. Okay. Yeah. And I gotta tell you something that came to me today while I was walking, because I noticed myself putting pressure on myself while I was walking. Cause I'm like, I'm not in the best of moods right now. What is going on? Why am I not feeling complete peace or joy? And I was like, I'm putting pressure on myself to do all these things, create so much, all that. And then what came after was to make sure I write everything down. What am I putting pressure on myself to do? And to make sure all of it is written out. And when you do that, it's like a magical practice. You're creating a container that holds the pressure that you would otherwise put on yourself. So you're like externalizing that pressure into this container that's a list that you write. It's like a form of magic. What do you think about that?
Yeah, it's like white magic.
Yeah.
You write shit down and it begins to come true. And when, especially when you're walking in nature, you're getting all these ideas, right? And then now the whole thing is we live in a world that gets a little crazy, gets a little hectic.
hmm
So how do you keep your creativity without losing yourself in the hecticness?
yeah, that's important. For me, it's taking breaks. That's one. Another one is to really prioritize. It's to be kind of really decisive with what's a priority and what's not, what's just a distraction, and to cut out a lot of those distractions and be kind of ruthless about cutting out the distractions. And the other thing is just practicing mindfulness so things don't shake you up that much that it throws you off so much. Like I remember back in the day, things would throw me off for long periods of time, but the more I practice mindfulness, meditation, all the spiritual stuff, things don't affect me as much, either not at all, or if something does rattle me a bit, I'll recover pretty quickly. So those are three things. What about you? How do you stay creative amidst the chaos?
Yeah, you just said it right there. That's the difference. The things that rattle you. The people I know who like master this life like nobody else, they just don't get rattled. And I was like, a lot of it has to do with the body and like maybe even exercise and the ability to handle stress. So like when you work out, you weight train, your body, you stress the body. You put stress on the biceps, you put stress on the quadriceps and the glutes. And what happens is the physical body gets stronger. It learns how to handle the stress. And what winds up happening is the things that would have bothered you no longer bother you. And it also has to do with testosterone levels, and people don't understand this. That when you work out and weight train, your testosterone levels go up, and it's almost like, listen, we were hunters and gatherers. Perhaps evolution wise, we're still hunters and gatherers living in this mental world. So if you could keep your body strong, it sends signals to your brain that, all right, a lion's not going to eat you and you're going to be able to hunt food. So that's a hack in this life. Exercise isn't, oh, I'm going to exercise. I'm going to lift kettlebells or anything. No, the body seems to heal the mind, and the mind through mindfulness can actually heal the body. However, working out, exercising and putting resistance training and high intensity interval training, that type of physical training makes people not get deterred by any type of stress. I noticed in my life when things were going right, I was in my best shape. When things were going wrong, I wasn't. And when things are going wrong, you have low anxiety and they can't get going, you got doubt in your mind. Sometimes working out, right after the workout, all that doubt is gone. It's like, oh my God, what the hell was I even worried about? So that is, to me, like one of the biggest differences. The people who go on to do great things and master this world is the ability to, either have your mind set or have your body heal the mind. That's how I do it. So working out, exercising, meditation, always, writing, doing creative. And listen, I actually can't sit still. And since I can't sit still, that would be a curse for many people. However, for some, that could be really a superpower. I think the things that limit us could actually always be a superpower, if used correctly. I'll land there.
Hmm. Yeah, like what could be seen as a weakness could actually be your biggest strength. And then what you said about working out, there's a reason why we have the word exercise and exercise. So like exercise, working out, and exercising demons. It's that process. And I noticed that within myself and so many people. When you exercise, you're transmuting energy. You're exercising your inner demons. And then the other thing is that when you work out, especially if you do a hard workout, nothing you do for the rest of your day or even your week is going to be harder than that, because you're putting maximum stress on your body. So nothing will be harder than that. You will face nothing harder unless you make up something in your mind and you think it's harder. But that will be the most challenging thing you put yourself through that day. So after that, everything is just a breeze. And you also reminded me of, you remember that, I forgot what year it was, but there was a play when Kobe was playing and someone like was inbounding it and he faked passing the ball like into Kobe's face and he did not flinch at all. So that's the visual that I got when you were talking about that. It's like someone could literally pump fake in your face and you don't flinch.
Oh, like that killer instinct.
Yeah.
But again, it's like biological. You could hack this life biologically, it looks like. And the reality is, with this mental world we're in, where our cell phones are ringing, where we have, all kinds of mail coming to the house, and you're like, oh my God, this mail, that mail, thousands here, thousands there. We live in this crazy mental world. So if you're not exercising and you're just in this mental world, you got problems. You either have to have your head on straight or you're going to have issues. So when you exercise, you also forget. Exercise to me is also a form of meditation. And there's different types of way to exercise. Most people don't exercise like once a week. And I don't, listen, I haven't done this in a long time. However, I've done it most of my life. Everybody should be doing something called high intensity interval training. That's basically going as hard as you can, whether it's on a bike, whether it's on a treadmill, whether it's swimming in a pool, going as hard as you can for like 30 seconds. And then jogging for another minute, let's say. And then sprint for another 30 seconds, whether it's on the treadmill, whether it's outside. And then you do that on and off for about 5 minutes. And first of all, you get in the best shape of your life. You burn so much fat. You build muscle. A lot of people do like aerobic exercise for like 10, they run 10 miles a day and they do that, 7 days a week. That is catabolic. So you
Mm-hmm.
wind up burning a lot of muscle when you're doing that. So that's actually turns into a negative. However, the high intensity interval training will do things to your body, and I believe it'll raise your vibration because it does this to me. It gives me a certain energy that is just like nothing will bother me. It's like, again, it goes back to hunter and gathering. If you could be fit enough to protect yourself from a lion, your brain will reward you, and I think exercise is that. And then when you feel good, you basically think good. And when you think good, you make better decisions. You make better decisions, the better your life is. The better your life is, the better you feel. The better you feel, the better you think. The better you think, the better decisions you make, and on it goes until you're really mastering this life. I'll land.
Yeah, good point on that, because when you're in shape and you know you're strong or fast or whatever, your mind says, okay, we can easily take care of ourselves here. We could easily survive just about any situation. So it gives like your nervous system that pass to relax because you know you can handle whatever comes at you. Um, yeah, I used to do hill sprints a lot. That was a big thing for me. But the thing is, once you start getting older, like once you get past 30, it's way easier to injure yourself like with running, like running full speed, hill sprints, things like that. So I haven't done much high intensity interval training the last few years, but a way to do it that I found, and I don't do this very often either, but maybe I should start again, is doing it on like a bike, like a stationary bike. Cause you could go like full on 100% and there's like no risk of injury at all to do it that way. And then my
Yeah,
preferred,
the recumbent bikes are great.
yeah,
I actually read on them. They're the horizontal bikes where you're not like, sitting upright, where you're basically like almost laying down and your feet are horizontal to your hips. That is one of the best. That bike I had is probably like $200. I think I had it for 10 years. I can't even tell you that bike has saved my life. And that type of bike, like you could do high intensity interval training on that and you definitely won't get injured. And high intensity interval training, you don't even have to go all out. You just have to measure your heart rate a little bit. And if the heart rate gets above like 125, 130, that's pretty good. You want to get the heart rate up to about, like maybe in the 140, 150 range. And I'm not going to get into heart rate and all this, but I actually, I taught exercise physiology and sports medicine. So this is that's like my real background, that and finance. But you bring those worlds together and they match perfectly because a lot of people, because the better you feel, again, you're just making better decisions. You're handling that stress, like you said, that because the stress is a killer, like nobody's business. I think stress is the number one killer in the world, perhaps. I think people take the vaccine. Well, listen, I don't want to talk about that, but people take certain medicines and they won't affect most people. However, if you're stressed out, if you're in fear, it'll affect you bad. And I think our country, puts stress on people. And I think they do it to I don't know, you not only you control people, but you control the population like that. I think a
yeah,
lot of people die from COVID, from stress and not COVID.
yeah. And something I realized, I've been thinking about this a lot the last few years, is that when your nervous system's in fight or flight mode, it can't repair itself. So you have like limited to no immune function. It limits your cognitive faculties. You can't heal anything and you can't perform when you're in fight or flight mode. But
So what do you
when
do if you're in that mode, Steven? So let's say you're in fight or flight. You owe millions of dollars. You don't know what to do. You got everyone breathing down your neck. Like, what do you do?
it, it starts in the body, well, like the physiology shift. You gotta shift it in your body because when you're in that mode, you're probably not too if you're really carried away with it, you're probably not in the state or like at the level where you could just shift your thoughts. So you need to do something like work out or go for a long walk in nature or go in your car and scream, like something like that. That's like a primal release to shift your energy. And then you could start thinking clearly. Then you could be like, okay, let me journal, let me meditate, let me try to tap into higher consciousness to find a way out of this. What do you think?
Oh, that you couldn't have said that any better, man. That's exactly what I would say. Because I've done it before. I've owed millions and millions of dollars. I've done it before where I was like, holy shit, I have so much going on. My phone ringing, owing money, doing it. I couldn't even tell you. I was like, holy shit, I have to figure it out. So the first thing I would do is first of all, I would just be like, all right, let me just shut my phone off. That's number one. And then when you shut your phone off, you start to think, you know what? Who gives a shit? I'm in my own little world. I'm in my own little room right now. Now I shut my phone off. It's like a superpower. And then I would get to the meditating and calming the mind, and then I would get to the exercising, and the exercising and the meditating. You start feeling good, and you start changing your diet a little bit, and then all of a sudden your body's working for you, and that stress isn't as stressful. It turns more into like a challenge, like a competition. All right, now I got to handle one thing at a time. All right, one bill at a time, one problem at a time, and you pack it with all the force you can. and you attack that one problem, and you might have arrows being slung by other problems hitting you in the back of the head. However, you're going to attack that one problem. You're going to go straight for that one problem, take that one problem out, and then you start feeling lighter. You're like, wow, next problem, next up, you got another problem. And you start to realize that a lot of problems can be taken care of by the ability to communicate, whether you're communicating with a bank, whether you're communicating with a partner, whether you're communicating with anyone. Your ability to communicate under stress will really open up the door to a better life. And then after every problem, every bill, a lot of people's problems are monetary.
Mm-hmm.
So often in my life, they've been monetary, where I owed a lot of money because I took crazy risks. That's why people talk about crypto to me. They're like, oh, you get good. I was like, dude, I took all the risks in the world when I was in my 20s and my 30s. Now I'm in my 40s. I don't need to take those crazy risks. Give me a bond that pays 5% and I'm good to go. So, it's just funny that, you just got to kind of like with all the problems and every problem you solve, whether, again, I said it was monetary. So it's like you may have, let's say $3,000 has to go here. You need that money in 2 days. Like, all right, when you put that money in your mind, like that dollar amount, somehow, some way, you find that exact dollar amount you needed. And it comes in these weird ways. So I started to notice, I was like, damn, was that going on my whole life? Then I looked back at my whole life and I realized anytime I needed a crazy dollar amount, sometimes I needed $1 million. And that $1 million came, whether it was in the form of a loan, whether it was in the form of me selling properties. And when I said, I need $1 million, here's the magic of money. See, money gets a bad rap. However, money is the perfect code in the simulation. Basically, money forces us to get creative. It forces us out of our comfort zone. It forces us into, the workforce a little bit. It forces us to meet people. Now, the one thing about money is the idea that there are hacks to it. And one of the best things about it is, I actually just lost my train of thought, but one of the best things about money is that as soon as you realize that you could actually manipulate this reality with money. Like, for example, if there's like $1 million, like let's say you said, I need $1 million or else I'm going to die. All of a sudden, you have to think of ideas that'll attract to you $1 million. And you're not thinking, oh, I need to sell this for $1. You're thinking of $1 million ideas. And then all of a sudden, dollar ideas start to come. The guy who wrote Chicken Soup for the Soul, I forget his name. He was on The Secret. I have him in my book too. He's a very nice guy. I put this part in my book, and the guy says this. He's like, the guy's name who does Chicken Soup for the Soul, Steve?
Is it Jack Campbell? Is that
Yes,
his name?
wait, no. It's I think his name is Jack, but
Jack.
Jack.
Ah,
Anyway,
yeah.
to make a long story short, he was like, I want to make $100,000. This was in the 70s or 80s, whatever the hell he started. $100,000 in the 70s is like $1 billion now. He's like, how can I make $100,000? He wrote it on a piece of paper. $1,000 check. And every morning he looked at that check. Every night he looked at that check. And he put the check in his mind. And he was like, and when he was taking a shower one day and nothing happened, he had a teacher that told him to do this. And then he did that. And the first week, nothing happened. The second week, nothing happened. He wasn't manifesting the 100,000. However, eventually he was taking a shower and all of a sudden an idea came to him. And the shower is one of the greatest places where ideas come. It's like you're taking a shower, the water and the silence, it's like hypnotizing. He got the idea that if he sold 10,000 of his books, which is a lot, he'll be able to get to the $100,000. And he says, you know what? That's all I have to do. Find out a way to sell 10,000 of my books. And then he wound up, being led. I think he wound up picking up a magazine. The magazine had this opportunity for book publisher, whatever it was. And he wound up using that idea and selling 100,000. He sold way over that. I think he might have made $1 million on that. And he was like, holy crap. And from there, Chicken Soup for the Soul really took off. He put the idea in his head. He put his motion behind that idea. He brought that idea to fruition. And then he started believing that it was possible. And then when he achieved that, he's like, shit, what else could I do? And then he started to think of, instead of 100,000 ideas, he started to think of $1 million ideas. And obviously now the guy's worth millions. And I'll land there.
So what's the difference between someone who puts let's say a dollar amount in their mind and it doesn't happen versus someone who puts that dollar amount in their mind and it does happen? Because for
Listen,
me,
that's a great, but go ahead, keep going.
I've noticed it's been harder for me with monetary things because I've had this belief from, I guess, my father's side of the family. It's like you have to work really, really hard for money. So it's this whole thing of like money is the equivalent to work, and especially like work you don't really want to do. So it's like that kind of belief, and a lot of people have that belief. But in your opinion, what's the difference between someone who puts that dollar amount in their mind and it doesn't happen versus someone who it does happen with?
I use that term like deserve. Like when you believe you deserve that dollar amount, like I had that same belief. My father worked 2 jobs. My mother worked 2 jobs. They were the hardest workers. It was always like hard work, hard work, hard work. So I always believed that if I worked hard, I deserved a certain amount of money. And sometimes by working hard, you do make money, but it's basically you're giving your time for the money. However, there seems to be a philosophical thing too. There seems to be a fail-safe for some. Basically, money doesn't come and you don't know why it doesn't come. And then all of a sudden, you're struggling. And then you're forced to think of an idea. You're forced to get creative. And I think you're forced to tap into a higher power, perhaps. Now, nothing good comes from being 25. I lost a lot of money at 25. I lost a lot of money at 30. By the time I was 32 and 33, I was like started to get the more mature I got, the more I was able to handle money. And then I look back in my 20s, I said, holy shit, thank God I didn't make that money when I was 25. It would have ruined my life. I think we're protected a lot of the times when it comes to money. There's no point in money flooding to you. And a lot of people in crypto, they don't understand that, listen, you can make money in crypto. There's no problem with crypto. I like crypto. I have some crypto. I like it. Let it go up. Let it go to $1 million. However, you do not know how to stay rich. It doesn't matter how rich you get. And, you talk about professional athletes. They make so much money. Yet 90% of them wind up going bankrupt. In the NFL, it's even worse. So money, I think we're saved on a philosophical level sometimes by money not coming that easy to us. Like, I want to make $1 million. But if we don't know how to handle that money, we don't know what we're going to do with that money, or perhaps we're going to use that money and then stay in the comfort zone. And the comfort zone is where, greatness goes to die. The comfort zone, I always thought the devil was like in the unknown. But that devil, he's probably in the comfort zone. So not having the money and having to be forced to be creative, that like gets you out of that. But again, when you're putting certain dollar amounts in your head, the beliefs mess with it. So I know what you're saying. So you got beliefs like, I don't deserve this because I didn't work hard for this and I should be working, I should be doing this. And it's really beliefs. But look, existence, physical reality itself must have started with some thoughts of something and then materialized into matter, materialized into where we are now. So that leads me to believe that we all have the ability to think things into creation. Why? Because apparently our existence was thought into creation. And so the ability to be able to think and grab onto a thought, grab onto something creative is one thing. Now, to monetize it is another. Some people have monetary blocks. I have monetary blocks with certain things I can't do. So what I'll do is I'll partner up with somebody who doesn't have that monetary block. And that's the way you could probably skate around that system a little bit. So if you're somebody struggling with money, but they have a great idea, the idea is find somebody who's good in business. For example, you have certain doctors, and I hate to blabber on, but there's certain doctors. They're the best doctors in the world. And what winds up happening is their business, they run it to the ground because they're not businessmen. However, if they were to partner up with a businessman, they'd be able to make millions. So you got to find, so if there are monetary blocks, you got to find somebody who doesn't have a monetary block or somebody that could complement you. And I'll land there.
Yeah, that's true. Finding a partnership that way, and that's like what you said about how money can kind of force us into interactions. It forces us to have certain jobs to create that experience. It forces us to interact with people who we might not normally interact with. So there is a higher purpose to it. There definitely is.
And there's David. David sent me a DM the other day, last night, and the knowledge David has, who's listening in here, is amazing. And I actually appreciate him because he's able to see things from a different perspective. You know, he's older than me, and I love that. Sometimes a lot of wisdom could come from people who are older than you, experience. Everybody has a piece of the puzzle, I always say. But David, I appreciate you. I know you're listening in.
Yeah, likewise. Same for me, David. David's always giving me little commentary on my posts and creating these little glimpses at different perspectives. So I appreciate that. I like
And
when
when
people
people are
come in like that.
philosophical, when they're philosophical and they're willing to take a message and give a message to somebody else, they become messengers from higher powers. Like that's how I see it. And before you know it, messages are coming to David, and David's getting messages for us. And then that's really what happens. And you can listen. Some people are able to tap into a certain kind of power, and whoever can do that can relay these messages from the gods. And a lot of channelers do that. I'll land there.
Yeah, and that's like the compounding perspective effect that I was talking about a couple days ago. When someone gives you like an interesting, thought-provoking comment on something that you post, it sparks your consciousness in different ways, and then you post from that new consciousness. So it creates that feedback loop and that momentum that way. Oh,
Yeah, that simulacrum. Yep.
yeah.
But go ahead.
Now, I have another question for you, Adam, because we're talking about like money, manifestation, things like that. Do you think manifestation is more of like a conscious mind thing or a subconscious mind kind of thing?
It seems to be a little bit of both in a way, and even an unconscious thing. So the unconscious thing would be like relevance. For example, you're 25. Your unconscious mind is preventing you from having $100 million because he knows you're going to die. So there's an unconscious aspect to all this. There's also a subconscious thing where you have beliefs, like our parents said, the money's the root of all evil, and we carry these subconscious beliefs, and then we go through life deflecting money, not realizing that it's beliefs that kept us there. But as far as manifesting money, money should be put on autopilot for everybody. Like what I mean is, there's something called compound. We already went through the finance thing, me and you, with the teaching. And that same that we went through that day is the same thing that works now. And again, when I hear people trading and people call me, they're traders, they want to trade, I'm like, I don't trade. I buy every single week. I set it and I forget it. Because when you use compound interest and you start investing early, that money starts to grow. Whether you're investing $5 a week or 500, that money starts to grow. And when it starts growing, you start feeling better. And you're like, wow, this money's growing. And then all of a sudden, once you start feeling better about money, you start feeling abundant, you pretty much attract more abundance. That's just some kind of hack in this reality for some reason. And again, when you're not abundant, when you're nervous, when your balances are low and your bank account's low, you get a flat. You get a ticket. Something bad happens. So there's some kind of magnetism with money. And many books were written about this in like the early 1900s, money magnetism. And I really believe this. Like, money is like magnetism. So manifestation. So if you could just get the ball rolling with money, set it and forget it. Buy the S&P 500 ETF. I know it's very high right now. Buy one share a week or one share a month and put money in that and let that account build up. In my book, I call it a greatness account. Because if you were to sit down with a professional, any kind of professional person with wealth who deals with wealth management, they say you got to pay yourself first. It doesn't matter if you owe $50 million anywhere. You're not going to just bail out the water. You got to build some kind of boat yourself. And what happens is you just pay yourself first. So you pay yourself. And maybe after a year it starts to build. Maybe after 2 years. But if you keep paying yourself, all of a sudden it builds to a certain amount where you become indestructible. And it doesn't matter what your credit is. That can be repaired. Doesn't matter what you owe. You owe $50,000 in credit cards. You can actually say F you to your credit cards if you want. Credit card companies make so much money, they'll write that whole thing off. And if you have businesses and LLCs, you can bankrupt the businesses. So there's ways to do it that way. I'm not going to get into all that. And I don't even recommend that way, but I'm just saying, pay yourself first. Get the ball rolling yourself into whatever type of stable investment where you're automatically investing and you're not worried about where the market's going. If the market comes down, you're even more happy because you could buy more of that. And then what winds up happening is you start feeling better. You start feeling abundant. And then instead of wasting, most people waste. And I'm the worst at this. The amount of money I waste in a day is so bad that if I was to take that money and put it in an account, forget it. It will grow like crazy. But when I'm building I already have my greatness account. I already have a structured and a foundation. So I don't care if I throw money around now. However, when I first got going, my greatness account was growing. And I was like, you know what? Let me not spend $100 on this. Let me not spend $20 on this. I wound up becoming more disciplined. The word discipline will separate the good from the great. Discipline, not spending, being frugal, your needs becoming the thing that you want, not your wants, your needs. So that every dollar you make, every dollars are like bricks. And you could use bricks to trade for clothes, or you could use bricks to build something that will, earn more bricks. And that's how this works. And I really believe that's a hack. I feel like when people get disciplined and they get mature with money and they focus on the money aspect of this world, I do believe you pass some kind of test and the world starts becoming a little easier for you that way. And I'll land there.
Oof, there's a lot there. And I agree because money mastery is energy mastery. It's like it's one form of energy mastery. So it lets the universe or even let's say your higher self, whatever, it lets that force know that you're responsible. You're a responsible steward of energy, and then you kind of unlock more and more. And it's all
Yeah, and
momentum.
there's one more thing with money that before I even forget this, and that's the idea that I've never met a dollar amount, and I said this to you last time, maybe 100 times, but there's never a dollar amount that I've met where I said, "Ooh, I have money, I'm rich." I don't think that dollar amount exists. It's a very strange psychology with money. So the more money you have, the more anxiety you have of losing it. And it turns into a weird psychology. That's why billionaires are no more happier than somebody living in the North Pole. It's just such a weird psychology with money. It's a poison. So if you could just, taper your wants down, that's how you really, I believe, you master this reality. When you don't need that Lamborghini, when you don't need to show off. You just be frugal. You live underneath your means. You become disciplined. You watch that money grow. And that's it. I'll live there.
Yeah, it's like the realization that you don't need a lot of that stuff, but also the realization or coming to the place where you don't need to worry about money either. That's like that magical balance, that middle path where you have enough so that you don't have to worry about it. Money problems are solved. And then you're also not just going to be stupid with it and get yourself into situations or devoting your energy to things that don't quite serve you either. Huh. Okay. The next thing, because we're wrapping up here, it's been like an hour since we started. Plug your book, Adam. Talk about your book a little bit before we wrap this up. Oh,
You
and
know
talk
what?
about what you're
The
doing
book
tomorrow.
tomorrow. Yeah, tomorrow we got a great space. Well, we're gonna do something different on these spaces. We're gonna try, bring on people. We're gonna do giveaways, and we're gonna just try do high energy things and flip it up on X a little bit. But tomorrow we got some great guests coming on. We got some skits. We got some good things going on. Tomorrow, everybody got to be there at 4 o'clock.
I'll be there.
And, do giveaways. It comes and I'm just trying things out and see what works, see what doesn't work. But as far as my book is a way for me to organize my thoughts. So I appreciate that I wrote that book because that philosophy is not going to change in me. That's really the mindset of me that I have, is that book, the mindset. And whenever I need to organize my thoughts, I go into that book and pull out a part of that book where I don't have to recreate a philosophy. That's just my philosophy. And again, this book is not for anyone. I really don't care if one person reads it or a million people read it. It gives me satisfaction and validation when people read it and it does well, but it's really, if I have to incarnate here again, I have a playbook. I told you that the last time too. I have a playbook and I have a cover that will attract me to it. And while writing this book, the amount of magic that happened, it's just undeniable. So what is this? What is this world? Now when I'm writing this book and all of a sudden while I'm writing it, crazy things are happening. I'm like, wow, we live in a weird world. But again, every second, especially when you have a family, you're always looking over your shoulders. You're always worrying what's going to happen. Every time you you don't want to really show off or anything like in front of people because people wish bad on you or anything like that. But you don't want to make anyone feel bad. But whatever the case is, if everybody supports each other and helps each other in whatever way they can, then you could really start like creating a new world of support with each other, whether it's a book, whether you're writing a song. And that's what we're going to do tomorrow in the space. So we're going to bring on one of the best singers, perhaps in the world. This girl is the best singer on X, and literally she should be selling out stadiums. And we're bringing her on tomorrow because everyone's got to hear her. I could assess talent, and she's really the most talented person. And when you hear her sing, you're like, holy shit. This girl sings live. I don't think anybody understands. Picking up a guitar and singing live is no easy task. And then singing songs better than the artist who created the songs, it's on another level. So I'm bringing her on tomorrow. She's going to help us out and host us too because everyone has to know her. She goes by the name Mela B, but goddamn, she should be in stadiums. And I'll land there.
Nice. Yeah, I'm probably going to download this conversation and put it on YouTube too. I read some of your book starting tonight. I downloaded it. I bought the Kindle version like a week ago, and it's good. Like, even your writing is really good. So I feel like I'm going to blow through it. And I got like the overview a couple times from you, so I know most of it, but it's good to read it word for word because it's a different experience too. That's the magic of books. So thanks for writing that.
Oh man, I appreciate that. That means the world to me. When somebody like you who understands this could go on there and tell me that, it just makes me like, all right, I did do something good. I did do something good in this world. It makes up for all the bad I did.
Yeah. And then before I wrap this up, I'm just going to plug my own Soul Writer Mastermind because I'm doing my first Black Friday sale ever. I got inspired to do that because part of my lesson is to be more bold with just putting myself out there and selling too. Because this is the thing with the money. Like, I'm creative, I'm spiritual, but when it has come to sell it, like, I could sell other people's stuff fine. But when it comes to my own stuff, being like, hey, buy my thing. I created this. This could actually help people. And when I really own that, that's when magic happens. And I've had trouble really owning that. So I'm doing a Black Friday sale for my Soul Writer Mastermind. It's 50% off until Friday. So
Oh,
that,
let me jump on that. I'm going to jump on that. That's pretty good. Yeah,
yeah,
what's the price for it?
it's 600 for the year. So it's normally 99 a month, which is 1,200 for the year. So I'm doing an annual discount.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got to jump on that. And you
And
know what?
that's my baby. Like, this is the thing that it wouldn't leave me alone for the last 2 years. and I never pulled the trigger on it. It's like, you need to create a spiritual writing group, something that fuses spirituality and writing to help people write books, be more consistent with their writing. And that's becoming the main focus of it, is being more consistent with writing, but from the soul. So like that daily creative inspiration, that daily communing with the divine and expressing it through writing. So that's the main focus. And I got my whole Divine Right course in there, which is, it's the whole comprehensive guide to writing a book. And I got a lot in there. I'm doing so much with it.
Yeah,
So
because you have the idea, you've done it before, and
yeah,
every single person right now is looking to write a book. It's just, how do you do it? What do you do? And there's a lot of good people that are doing this, and they spend a lot of money on ads on Facebook and this and that. So to do it organically like you're doing is, yeah, but we got to figure that out and figure out what works best. And it's
yeah,
a learning process, because if you could figure that out, because listen, if you do like a book club or something like that and infuse that in, then all of a sudden you have, like, if you have a book come out, you have people to read it and buy it and reviews. And that helps you in like the Amazon ratings and all that. And that's something I didn't have. And I was like, shit, I should have had like a group like you're talking about. Put that type of group together where you
yeah,
could, like a book club type of thing.
yeah.
And I'm actually working on that now on Instagram. So maybe I could fuse you and them together and figure that out. Draw people your way.
Yeah, thank you. And that's part of the vision too. Part of the vision is for people to collaborate and innovate, because I know, because we're getting into like the spiritual aspects, people are going to come up with new ways to write books. People are going to come up with new ways to write poetry. Like all this new stuff is going to emerge from this. And then you get the benefits of, you have this supportive community who could review your stuff, who can help you promote it, things like that. So it becomes that like synergistic compounding effect. And that's part of why I got the call to do this.
Oh my God! Imagine that somebody like wants to write a book and they're like, "Where do I start?" You spend the $600 or whatever it is. You learn how to write, and then you have a network that'll promote it. And then all of a sudden, to promote a book costs thousands and thousands of dollars. You could actually have a group set up for that. So that genius, man. Appreciate that.
Yeah. Yeah. That's where I see it going. Because yeah, with writing a book, since it's not a high ticket item, like most people aren't even breaking even with it. And the people that do make money, they're kind of the ones writing the books that are basically just lead magnets to higher ticket offers. Those are the only people really making money by running ads from books. So you got to get more creative with it. And then the thing with books too, I think even the best sellers aren't barely sell any copies in their first year or so. It takes a long time to gain momentum for most books. Like even the household names we know, they don't even sell much in their first 5 years.
Yeah,
So
people don't understand that. That's one reason I was like, let me write a book with Bashar. What Bashar does is he has these monthly events where he brings thousands of people together. So every month I get to market my book in front of 1,000 of his people who are diehard supporters of him. And then he has these in-person events now where there's 2,000 people at these events. They're bigger than the Tony Robbins event. So now I could sell 2,000 books at that event and 1,000 here and just piggyback off the success of him. And that's shit. That could be a hack too.
yeah. And especially since your book is good, because that's the important thing. If it's not good, it's not going to spread. But if it's good and you're delivering value like your book does, then it's going to spread. And the people from the Bashar events are going to share it with their friends. And that's how you build that momentum over the years.
Yeah, I'm getting a lot of good feedback from them, their people. And one thing about my book is so funny is because when I was in high school, I didn't go to English class. I barely went to any class my senior year. So what wound up happening is I had to take a remedial English class to get into college. A remedial class is not accredited class. It's like so you could be competent, so you could maybe pass the regular class. It was me. I was the only English speaking person in there. And so I was the worst writer in the world. It's actually hysterical. And in this class, I had to write a paper, and I plagiarized the whole thing from like an Isaiah Thomas book. Isaiah Thomas had this little like book, and I plagiarized it, and I gave it to my English teacher. He calls me out. This is in the remedial class. I'm like, oh shit, I'm getting kicked out of college already. He got me. He put his arm on my shoulder and he started crying. He's like, this is the best thing I've ever read in my entire life. He's like, you're gifted, son. I plagiarized the whole thing. And that's how my writing career started. I was like, I'm getting kicked out of school. And he's like, son, you have a talent like nobody else I've ever seen. And he had a tear in his eyes, the guy. And I was like, and I know he would never find it because it wasn't like an Isaiah Thomas book, like a big book. It was like a little 3x3 pamphlet book that you bought in a book fair that I just happened to have. And it happens to be one of the best written paragraphs. And the guy was crying to me. And that's my writing career. Starts there, plagiarizing and being in a remedial class.
That's great. You've come a long way. That's a good story to tell too. That's funny. All right, we got to wrap this up. And I'm trying to find a regular time to do this. I don't know when it's going to be. It might be Mondays, might be Sundays. We'll see. But I'm going to do a lot more of these. And yeah, I'll be on your space tomorrow, Adam.
Yeah, tomorrow 4. It's going to be fun. A lot of fun. I got a lot of aces up the sleeve, like
Nice.
Barnum and Bailey.
I'm excited to see. It's all experimentation, so let's see how it goes. All right, I'm going to end this. Thanks, Adam. Thanks, David.